Welcome. It is no accident that you have found your way to the Release the Genie podcast. What would you do with 3 wishes? And what if you discovered that you are in fact that very genie that could grant them? Well, join us now as we discover who our next genie is as we listen in and learn the stories of triumph, inspiration, and passion with some very special guests. And now, without further delay, your host of the Release the Genie podcast, Mr. Paul Rogers.
That's so much better. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. I am your host, Paul Rogers, and welcome to another episode of Release the Genie. We have a very, very special Genie guest today, the wonderful Hilary Bilbrey. Now, you may have seen her recent shows of Decided Heart Effect. If you haven't, then you need to subscribe because I've been on it, and also that it's a really good show. So look that up straight off the bat. Also, Hilary doesn't let the grass grow under her feet. Now, just listen to this, okay? Chief Inspirational Officer, Inspirational Infuser, and Truth Teller. I mean, come on, you know, Genie title being added to that is kind of a footnote, but also she has a new project and website, Ready, Steady, Pivot, which is helping bold women to better their next best thing. So I bring you now the wonderful Genie, Hilary Bilbrey. How are you doing, Hilary?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate what a lovely introduction. I know that we are kindred spirits and souls, and the fact that our whole purpose to be here is any of our experiences, trying to take them and put them back out into the world in a way that can hopefully lift other people up and help them to be better versions of themselves.
I love that. And before the show, we were talking about shining a light and having that. And we have got a lot of synergies. And I, from knowing your show and knowing what you do, I'm going to throw it out there. I think you're a very big light giver.
Oh, thank you so much. Coming from somebody who I admire as much as I admire you, and such a great mentor, that means so much. And I think we all have the capacity, right? We all have the capacity. It's a choice. It's a decision, as my co-host and I like to say, you know, to let your heart shine and to fill yourself up with the things that allow you to shine.
If you're not feeling the good vibes at the moment, people, then you need to get your pulse checked. This is wonderful stuff. So now we're going to crack into this. Otherwise, we'll just talk about that all the way through. Hey, we may anyway. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what was one of your Release the Genie aha moments you can share with us?
So probably my biggest Release the Genie moment was a very, very painful moment going back to, it'll be 2003 when it happened, I believe. Yeah, 2003. I was pregnant with my second son, and I had a kind of crazy diagnosis. And through that diagnosis, they were thinking that I may not survive the pregnancy. And so during that, they asked us to go ahead and plan my funeral. So my husband and I did that. And that was just obviously, as you can imagine, disturbing. Now, luckily, what happened was there were no issues, except I went into labor early. You know, something about there being a little stress that made me go into labor early. Not sure what that was all about, she said sarcastically. And so my son was taken away to another hospital to be in NICU, and it was a scary time, but he came out of that and was happy, healthy. We came home, and just a few days later, my oldest son, who was 18 months old, found his way. I wasn't home at the time. My husband went to change our baby's diapers, and our oldest got into a tub that was filled with, well, actually, it wasn't filled with hot water. He got into our tub, turned on the hot water only, and in less than 10 seconds had burned the skin from his the lower half of his body. And we had we were trying to do all the right things. We were in a brand new house. We didn't know about water heaters. We should have. So we hadn't touched it ourselves. It was set too high. Again, we didn't know. We had a safety gauge on his, but not on ours. You know, we had taken the fences down that keep, you know, the gates down because he was climbing over and we thought we would get hurt. So we were trying to do all the things. And in an instant, you know, that happened. He was transferred through 3 different places and on the way to the burn unit. And there was kind of an overdose that happened and he ended up crashing. So that you know, all of that night is a blur. I mean, even as I'm telling you, it's been 18 years and yet I can still envision everything that was happening and the ride in the ambulance is all. And I know you have so many memories and flashes and stories and things from yours. Mine is so much longer ago. So I don't get triggered as much anymore. But really what that did is that set me into this place as a family because we were investigated and he's doing, by the way, end of the story is he's lovely. He's wonderful. He's amazing. He's a freshman in college. He is the light of my life. All 3 of my kids are. He is successful and just incredible and ended up playing varsity basketball. Right. So he's an amazing kid. He had to have, you know, skin grafting and all of these other things that happened. But coming out of it, I had this vision in my life of like, I failed. I had one job, which was to keep my kids safe, and I failed. So if my job as a mother was to keep him safe and I failed, then who am I? And that was really what set me into the work that I do, which is my trying to uncover who I am as a person and learning that the love and the caring and the compassion and the joy that I brought to being a mom didn't go away when the picture changed. Because as you know, Paul, you can't sometimes guide the way that life works out and the things that happen and the trauma that happens. But if you have the anchor of who you are, that can be the thing that helps bring you through it all. And so that became my mission, was to really work and reach out to people, whether or not they were going through something horrible, or at some point we're all going to go through something, just to find them and meet them where they are and help them really uncover the best parts of themselves and hold on to it regardless of what the world brings their way.
I think that's so very powerful. And there's so many aspects of that story, which I know is going to resonate with so many different people. When I hear that story, I get what I get from that is I get that you have a true purpose and passion, and without actually planning where you got to, you have now found something where you've taken that heartache, that pain, and now have turned it into something good, which I personally think is that transformation says everything about you. So I love that. And perhaps you can just quickly share what you do as well, because it's kind of like, I want to hear the end part of the story now.
No, absolutely. So for a long time, I just became a keynote speaker and a coach and a workshop facilitator, but only when I was asked. So I started working. It started out, I wrote a book that was called Wrecker Bunny Learns to Be Careful. And I worked with a burn unit as well as a burn organization in order to create it. And then we've actually created a couple other safety books as well, because my whole philosophy is, okay, Bilbrey, Hilary, are you going to be a victim in this, or are you going to be a hero in this? And I think that that's kind of something that we look at every single day. Like every single day we have that choice to be a victim or a hero in our life, whether or not something big or small happens. And so part of that was, okay, how do kids normally come to you in the burn unit, and how can we prevent that? So that sort of launched me into working a lot with fire and life safety personnel. And that sort of went into working with kids who were more at risk. But then it sort of opened up and I started working with everybody. So whether it's a school, an organization, a corporation, or an individual, my purpose in my personal work, because I have 3 different businesses, in my personal work is to really help people, ground people in who they are authentically, and then bring out the best in them so that they're showing up with integrity at work, at home, everywhere and within their community, because when you have to worry less about trying to be someone you're not, you're more able to fully give and be trustworthy and trusting, which increases productivity and relationships. And there's all of those things that go. So I do a lot of workshops, keynotes, and then one-on-one coaching around those things. And then that led me into last year, there was a group of women who met in Minnesota just before things closed down, who are all Gen Xers, and said, hey, we followed all the rules. We're doing well in our careers, but we're not happy. And one of my best friends, Wendy Wiesman, who is the founder of it, called me and she said, this group, there's something here. They want to go through some changes and they need help. Can you come on board? So there are 6 of us. I do the curriculum part of it. We all work together with it, but there's 6 of us women that are lead voices, and we created Ready, Set, Pivot. And each one of those is a different stage in your life. Are you ready for change? The set is setting the stage of it, and then the pivot, actually creating the pivot in your life. And we bring women who have been in business or have been in their career for a long time through this whole process of evolving and changing into who they want to be rather than who society has told them they need to be. So that's Ready, Set, Pivot. And then the last one is the Decided Heart Effect, the DH effect. And that is, again, a labor of love that started with my friend Sonia. And that was born out of Sonia Montiel. She's a college counselor. And we sort of just connected and started having authentic conversations and said, we really want to bring this to light. We want other people to understand and be inspired that they have choices, a million choices a day, to stand up and be who they truly are, to connect with the authenticity, to see vulnerability as a superpower. And so we bring people like you. You are one of our favorite guests that we have on, who have had these other moments, these decided heart moments where instead of laying down and being stagnant and letting life happen to them, they said, oh no, hold on, there's more. I'm going to take the pen back and write my own story, my new story. So those are the 3 things that I work on.
Wonderful. And I can see they all definitely have their center at you. They're all completely aligned. And, there's a very calm but confident energy, which I can feel. And so it's really, really brilliant work, my friend. And if anyone wants to get behind and support that, we'll find out where Hilary hangs out. Don't worry. I wonder if you could tell us what's been one of your inspirational quotes or mantras which has really jumped out at you.
So my mantra for the last many, many years, and I actually even have a license plate that says it, is live inspired. To me, that's my battle cry, is live inspired, because we're not here for very long, and we never know how long we're here for. As you know, once again, you almost had your life cut short. And I think that to sit and unpack in sadness and despair and victimhood is just a miserable, lonely place to be. And so every day my challenge is how are you going to live inspired today? And if you aren't inspired, what can you do? What can you fill up your tank with? I always talk about there's energy vampires and there's energy infusers. And the energy vampires, what sucks your energy away and makes you uninspired. And sometimes it's people or a company or an activity. And then you always have to have your energy infusers, what actually gives you the light and makes you feel inspired. And you know what those things are, and have you surrounded yourself with those things?
It's very easy to get stuck. And I think, if anything, the COVID's got lots of bad stuff, but actually some of it is an awakening of things weren't working that way, but let's shift our attention, which kind of makes me circle back to the ready, set, pivot. It's all falling into place over here at the moment.
No. But you're right. You have to be ready for it. That's what people say, oh, can you work with me? And I said, well, I don't know. Are you ready? Because I can't make you ready. And ready means you have to be ready to get vulnerable. You have to be ready to tell the truth, and you have to be ready to hear the truth.
Awesome. Awesome. And you're so right. It's you can waste an awful amount of time and energy, and that in itself can be a vampire by trying to help somebody who actually is not ready to be helped.
Yes.
Wonderful. Look, it's all not sunshine and rainbows. You already told us a bit about that. Has there been any sort of setback or adversity which you've had to overcome? I mean, you've told us enough adversity anyway. Is there any more, or has that been your moment?
Really, it's funny because I think that there always is adversity, right? There's always these life quakes, these things that happen. We had a situation that happened a couple of years ago, an unexpected job loss in our family, and we really have adopted. I think once things happened with Breck and we made it through that, and we realized we could get through it, because there's a lot of marriages, there's a lot of families that break up over trauma, as you know, because you do so much work in trauma. I think that once we were in it for good, that those things, those adversity, what they are is they're opportunities. They're opportunities to shine and to rise more. And so even with that was the point where my job, instead of being a referral only, I said, okay, let's just do this. And so it became there's nothing that will push you out of fear faster than a true need to help your family survive. And so it makes you very brave. And that's really, I think, what it boils down to with so many things is how do you get over that fear and move forward? And I don't feel afraid of many things anymore.
I think you're right. I mean, motivation, and people talk about motivation, and it's actually almost become a sort of a devalued word, but having something which is so special to you, which you can really get hold of and manipulate and change, I can see why that is such a valuable commodity to give to others. So you only know it when you know it, if you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And I think it's funny because you said the word motivation, and that just is something I actually don't like that word. And I know you said that too. And the reason is because you're not motivated to do something, you decide to do something.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, there's sort of the pep talk, and then you go back. On Saturday you have a pep talk, and then Monday you forgot it all, and you're going back to doing what you're doing. That for me is it's called motivation, but I don't think that's emotionally upsetting a lot of people. But there we go.
Nope. Yeah, all those motivational speakers out there are like, say what?
I'm not even going to mention the names, but some big names will want to ring and complain. But hey, put it on the tab. Let's get into something safer ground, which is who's your hero and why?
So I thought about this. I think about this because I get asked this question a lot. And in the past, I've been, I've said like my son and some of those other things. But, it's funny. I had this moment where I really settled into it, and it resonated and it felt true to me. My hero is it's everyone I talk to who rises above. You have a place in my hero. I don't think there's just one hero. I think that we glean this inspiration, not motivation, but inspiration. And we can look to people. And anytime I see someone, when I'm talking to a client and I have a client I've been working with for a year, and I've seen the evolution and the way he shows up for his family and his work now compared to how it was. And he's my hero because he put in his work and he did it. When somebody has an aha moment and I see that who they are and their vulnerability is paying off and that they're going to be using it in service to others, those people are my heroes. So, but I will say a caveat, there's only one group of people I can get in front of that I absolutely blush and shut down because I am so overwhelmed by who they are. And that is firefighters. The firefighters who helped us with Breck and everything that happened, they, to me, are just born and bred to be superheroes. And so I can go and I can give a beautiful keynote speech. And then you put me in front of a room full of firefighters and I go, blah, 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 blah. I'm just humbled. I'm humbled by their service and their hearts.
But you see, that again, for me, that's just a testimony to you, in that you are able to give so much, but even you have the authenticity, the vulnerability, and the humbleness to be in the presence of other people who you admire.
I mean, there's no even me. I mean, I think we have the opportunity. Gosh, Paul, I wish that our job is to see the hero in one another, right? I really wish that that's what we were doing, that we weren't looking for the differences, and we weren't looking for the criticisms, and we weren't looking for the judgments, but that our main job was to go out and to have conversations with the absolute goal of finding the hero in the other person. Beautiful,
beautiful. And I suspect every coach and mentor across the land is like nodding now in appreciation. So well done. A brilliant shout out to anyone who's trying to help somebody else, big, small, whatever. So thank you so much for that. Well, look, you kind of told us that you were super busy. So this is a sort of a shout out. What other than that considerable list, tell us what exactly are you working on? What's cooking in your kitchen at the moment?
Oh, goodness sakes. Well, so yeah, right. So continuing to work on the Ready, Set, Pivot work, because we just did an official launch last week. And so continuing to evolve that. And anybody who wants to check that out is the rspexperience.com. Just really fun. Sonia and I are shifting from doing podcasts into actually doing workshops and keynotes about trying to help people have decided heart moments. So we're working on that. And I don't know, I'm sort of afraid to put this out there. I'm revamping my work, my own web page. And people have asked me for years to do an adult book instead of a children's book. It's on I have my little board over here. I haven't made it happen yet, but it needs to come down. Maybe I need to have you hold me accountable. I need an accountability partner, Paul.
That's fine. If you, I can do that. Don't you worry.
I know. I believe you.
I mean, the good news is it's you haven't finished, and this is everything you've just said is new, starting, new, turning, and that's really, and in itself, that's inspiring to hear, because you are actually following your own press. You are ready, set, pivot.
Well stated. I absolutely 100%, which is oftentimes what I tell people. I don't coach, I don't present, I don't do keynotes because I've made it. I don't do those things because somehow I know more than everyone else. I show up in hopes that I'm going to continue to evolve and learn and grow into the person that I need to be so that others can do the same.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. I know I haven't even got to my wishes yet. Holy smoly. I'm going to cut to that now. So are you ready for your 3 wishes?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Okay. Wish number 1. What was the best advice you have received in your life?
So the best advice I ever received was from my friend, Jen Buzza. I've received a lot of great advice, but she said to me, only you can cross your boundaries. And that was a huge pivot in my mind, because we often get upset with other people and we're like, well, that person is being disrespectful. That person is doing this to me, to me, to me, to me. Again, victim mentality. And she really said, look, lady, you have to show up. And if it's a boundary, it doesn't move. If someone's crossed it, it's because you let them. And that meant that I had to step up and empower myself and use my voice and speak up, because people don't know what your boundaries are unless you communicate them.
I think you're so right. It depends on how firm you want your boundary to be. I mean, you can say, oh, there's a boundary, but if it's not actually anything you are willing to put the effort into enforcing, it's just a lie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it sets you up to be upset with the other person, and it's not even their fault.
Yeah. It's, I always, when if I used to, in my younger days, when I used to suffer from hangovers, I couldn't help the fact that I've just done this to myself. You know, it's kind of like that.
Yes. You're right. You're not wrong. That was a great analogy.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it now. Anyway, so we're going to move on to my second wish, which is, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, that is, you know, it's funny because I often have my clients do this work of writing and talking to themselves. There's so much healing that has to go on for what we do to ourselves. I don't, you know, everyone in our lives is just trying to do the best they can, right? But we oftentimes have to go back and heal ourselves. I think for me, it would be, hey, you know what? Perfection is not what it's about. You don't need outside validation. Just love yourself so that others know how it should be done.
Yeah, I think you don't know what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. So I think you're right. It's got to be firsthand to be authentic. It's got to be firsthand. So,
well, and why did nobody? I mean, and again, this is everybody that I talk to. We all have kind of gone through the same thing. Why does nobody ever say, like, hey, if you fail, let's clap and cheer because now you get to grow, right? Like, how much anxiety would go away in our world if we were like, woohoo, awesome job. You fell on that one, but you got back
up. I think you're absolutely right. We tend to be our own worst enemy in more ways than one. It's not just negative talk. It's actually, we don't give ourselves permission. And so, I love that. My goodness me, 2 out of 3, I think so. So we're going to move on to my third and final wish, which is, could you share one attribute which attributes to your success?
Yes, but can I share 2?
Oh, hey, you're asking somebody if I can give 2 wishes. You're all on board. Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I've been thinking about this because I think for me personally, and everybody has to find their own, right? I believe that leaders are readers. And so I do start every morning by getting up and reading something that is going to be part of the fuel in my day. And so if you're not waking up inspired, then how can you help anyone else? So I start always with reading something inspirational that fuels me. And pushes me forward and helps me to help my clients and myself. And then usually in the afternoon, I am a huge nature person. And so I start to kind of run on empty in the afternoon, especially when you're giving so much of yourself. So I have to get out. I live in California. I get out and I hike, and I've given myself permission to just work. Like, it's a non-negotiable. I have to get out, go for a walk, go up a hill, see the city, see the mountains, and then I can come back and I'm there again. So
that's beautiful, and very centered, and again, there's a lot of phrases misunderstood. Self-care, that seems to be the buzzword at the moment, but in my view, there's very people who actually understand what that means.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. They see it as selfishness without realizing. I mean, it just is so clear to me. If you go and you fill up your gas tank with diesel, but it needs to run on premium, then it's going to break down and nothing is going to be able to run right. The same with you. If you want to give more to people, you have to make sure you're filling yourself with the premium gas so that you have more to give.
I think your gas is nitro. Let's skip the premium. Yeah, let's not kid ourselves here. So you mentioned you're a big reader. So is there one or even more of books which you'd like to share with the readers which really jumped out to you?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I have so many, depending on what you're looking for. My favorite one from last year was the book called Life is in the Transitions by Bruce Feiler. And I really loved that book because it debunks the idea of life being lived linearly and the fact that our lives all take on different shapes and that's okay. I loved, and there's a ton of research, but there's also beautiful stories woven in with it. And to me, that's just one of my favorite books. If somebody needs an uplift, I love, and I would say listen to the Book of Joy, which is conversations between the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. It is beautiful and hilarious and funny and cute. And then 2 other books I would list would be Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, which is anyone who's interested in the history behind sort of Black and white relations in the United States. And then Cassandra Speaks, which deals Women's History Month. Elizabeth Lesser deals with what happens if women are the ones telling the story. So those are kind of my 4 favorites at the moment. You're always getting more than you bargained for with me. Sorry.
Hey, it's kind of your calling card. Overvalue, over deliver, and I'm not. I'm not going to stand in your way on that. No, I mean, to us, that is wonderful. Thank you so much. And you're right that sometimes you need a different thing for the different mood or whatever. So it's not a kind of one thing fits all. And I think you've been able to give such a lovely spectrum there of, so yeah, really wonderful. I love it. I love it. So thank you very much. Now we know where you got your nitro from. So there we go. Well,
that's fuel.
Yeah, exactly. Look, where can we get hold of you? Because you've been able to say so many wonderful things. Tell us where we can grab you.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, if somebody wants to get a hold of me via, of course, LinkedIn is a great place to find me. My personal email is just hilary@bilbrey.me. And then there's, I have 3 different websites. So I don't know if you just want me to list those somewhere else or if you want me to say them now.
It's entirely up to you. If you want to run them, I'm happy to listen.
Yeah, you're happy. Well, it's just hilarybilbrey.com and then the rspexperience.com and the dheffect.com. So any of those places.
Okay, guys, there is no excuse now. We have more contacts than I can. So they'll all be on the show notes, but thank you very much for that. I'm going to attempt to do a little summary now, which is always kind of fun. Well, this lady, I'm going to go back to my Nitro thing again. She runs on Nitro, a true giver in every sense of the word. I love the fact that actually your business's names and your missions are so aligned. What you say what your shows are is exactly what you're thinking. So I admire that that willingness to help others, and I think anyone who's listening and watching will see that. So a very worthy Genie. And did you have fun?
I had so much fun. I think anyone who's in your presence, Paul, you bring so much joy and light, as we've talked about in times where even there could be darkness, that I am grateful to know you and so grateful that you're out there in the world doing such amazing things. So I've appreciated the fun and the opportunity.
That's great. And okay, now you see, the game is that you don't make me blush. But anyway, thank you very much. It's deeply appreciated, and straight back at you because I like to deflect. Look, I'm going to leave it here, guys. We're going to talk for hours afterwards. But look, if Hilary has inspired you and moved you, check out her wonderful podcast, her companies, and if you want somebody who's very sincere and keynote speaking, you've met her right here. So thank you once again, Hilary. And guys, there's no excuse now. You're going to go out there and you're going to release your Genie, find the light and shine it very proudly. And we'll see you for the next time. Thank you all, and goodbye for now.
Well, that's a wrap. You have been listening to yet another episode of the Release the Genie podcast with host Paul Rogers. Be sure to follow Paul on the LinkedIn platform and learn more of Paul's resources at www.takeactionacademy.ca. And until next time, as always, be mindful and be sure to release your Genie. Thanks for listening.